When we remember the early 2010s in regards to Nintendo, the story focuses immediately to the tragic case of the Wii U. I've heard and you've heard so many rehash stories about this absolutely failed console that I could quite literally tell you it by memory by now. So yeah, Wii U bad, but Nintendo had released a handheld console a year before it, being the Nintendo 3DS. And quite honestly, the early days of the 3DS weren't all that much better than the days of the Wii U. Arguably, the immediate launch was worse from a software perspective. Like, the Wii U launch at least had Mario in Nintendo Land. 3DS, on the other hand, had Steel Diver. Great. Pilot Wings. Who gives a There weren't even any Mario games for the first 6 or so months. So by holiday season that year, Nintendo had decided to give the failing 3DS a price cut because well, no one wanted it, okay? And I owned one, I could say. On top of that, they would release both Mario Kart 7 and Super Mario 3D Land that very holiday season, which people are weirdly harsh to now, but at the time, I thought they were pretty exceptional games. However, I didn't buy the 3DS for those games specifically. 3D Mario and Mario Kart had always been a prominent focus of every Nintendo console, handheld and home, so I didn't doubt they would exist. They were just, you know, the status quo. Instead, my eyes turned to 2 new games that were coming to this console, which were sequels to beloved games from my childhood. There's a certain line in the sand that's drawn to represent the life of an overly involved gamer. I mean, you know what I mean, right? Like, the first half of your life is a time where you are perhaps younger and don't think about video games all that critically. You don't research when the next Nintendo console is coming out, none of that nerd crap. Your experience is mainly comprised of games that your parents buy for you, or perhaps titles you casually enjoy at your friend's house that you've never once heard of. But what comes after is when you officially take the plunge into nerdom. It's when you become almost obsessed with Nintendo, maybe even going so far as to delve into other companies like Sony and Microsoft. Symptoms of this terminal disease include looking up constant news about their newest game consoles, figuring out how you're gonna scrounge up enough allowance money to even buy the damn thing. Perhaps you start making YouTube videos or join an internet forum. I hate to tell you, but this is the point where you go from a casual gamer to a dork. Everyone's awakening into such is different, but once you take the plunge, there's no going back. Before you know it, you'll have like 60 video essays on games no one else cares about, and I'm not speaking from my heart or anything like that. So what was my trigger that sent me down this path, you may be asking? Well, there were 2 games, as I said, that were released early or relatively early in the 3DS's lifespan that consciously made me realize that a game could indeed be bad. This therefore ended my very childhood, and it was a damning and hollowing experience that still haunts me to this very day. I mean, look what we're doing here right now. These 2 games were Paper Mario Sticker Star and Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. What these 2 products shared in common were that they were follow-ups to some of my favorite games released on my, at the time, favorite console, the Nintendo GameCube. While yes, there was Super Paper Mario on the Wii, Sticker Star's gameplay resembled the first 2 games a little bit more to me based off of the initial screenshots, so therefore it immediately caught my interest. Nintendo should be sued for false advertising. Just to get this one out of the way first, like, we don't need to spend today talking about Sticker Star. It's been discussed to death by now, including by, you know, me. Everyone knows the story of this game and how horrible it was, and I've even talked about how I feel it basically killed the franchise in at least a few different videos over the I talked about it last time. Look, Jim, stop interrupting me. I didn't need you to give me notes when I'm making my video. Everyone gets mad at me when I say that Origami King is still suffering the repercussions of it, but it is, okay? It quite literally is, and you have to accept that. There's no EXP, and there's no good story, and there's no good partners, and if you think it's better than TTYD, that's your opinion, but you are on some serious grade A copium, my friend. Again, based off of the early promotional screenshots, I thought that Sticker Star was going to be a successor to TTYD, or its predecessor. We saw partners, unique landscapes that would have fit in with the GameCube outing, and what we got was fucking none of that. I bought this game at launch, and I have to thank Nintendo for teaching me what the emotion of disappointment was, and I thought my parents' divorce was painful. But you know what? It was disappointing, but since we still got Super Paper Mario a few years back, and I assumed Paper Mario would return in form for home consoles, it wasn't the most devastating moment of my life, but I'd still put it in the top 5.